When you look at some of the risks in the banking world, what's top of mind? I know we talk about leverage finance a lot, but is there something that could go ugly quite quickly?
Sure. Well, we've had this long period of negative real interest rates, a tremendous amount of liquidity. That's all going away. Rates are going up. We have inflation. The economy is going to turn. The question is, can central bankers break inflation without breaking the economy? So there will be pockets of hidden risk, and like FTX, they're going to pop up from now and then.
Do you worry about leverage? Again, it's not the same if you're financing yourself with interest rates at 1% than if you're financing yourself with interest rates at 5%.
I do, Francine. We've seen globally debt to GDP go up to 350%. We're $100 trillion worth of debt we've added in this cycle. But we pushed a lot of the risk out of the banking sector into non-regulated, non-visible parts of the sector. So there's risk out there. We just don't know where it is.
So, but where do you see, I mean, when you look at some of the, the downfalls, I've heard shadow banking, it could be in some assets that will come up ugly. Could we risk reliving 2008?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a systemic set of connections between those potential bubbles, but I think bubbles are going to pop. And FTX is an example of business plans are made on a napkin that just didn't work.
Yeah, are you seeing any crypto contagion into banks?
We see, no, not to banks because we've been precluded from being in the business. But I don't think it's crypto per se. I think what we saw with that particular enterprise is just really bad governance and bad oversight.
But so, what, the fallout, when do we find out exactly what the second, third round, and if any fourth round effects are?
Well, next year, obviously, the economy is going to continue to turn. Rates are going to go up. Things are going to pop. And then we have macroeconomic risks, as we've just discussed. The outlook for China, 3% growth or 5% next year, really remains to be seen.
But when you look at FTX, and this is fascinating because we're hearing of other things potentially going under. We heard of Genesis and others trying to understand exactly who's been lending to what. Like, what does it mean for regulators? Do they need to take a hard look at this and say, actually, we need to regulate it like a bank or a trading platform?
We certainly do need greater regulation, regulatory clarity, which we don't have in the U.S. There's a battle between the SEC and the CFTC, right, who has oversight. Other jurisdictions is clearer, but obviously many of these entities have operated outside the normal regulatory structures. We do need more regulation in that sector.
Do you think it will come because of FTX?
I think it will come, absolutely. I think regulators are now scrambling to figure out how do we have greater insight and oversight into this particular aspect of financial intermediation.
So, Jim, who do you see as the strongest regulator? Does it get regulated in the U.S. first? And again, you say that there's almost a battle between who could regulate and who has oversight, or could we see something more aggressive in Europe?
Well, we will see in Europe and the UK, and I think in the United States. So again, it's as much clarity as it is new regulation, and we just need a better sense of who's in charge and who's paying attention.
What are you expecting the main banking trends for 2023 to be?
Well, we're still in a great transformation, decarbonizing our economies. That's going to continue. ESG has become a bit of a toxic label in the United States, but not in other places. So this great transformation in terms of climate is going to continue. It will require trillions intermediate through the banking system.
Do they, some of the ESG products, do they need to get relabeled?
I think we need a transformation in the way we think about ESG labeling. There are 24 different taxonomy regimes globally, so there's no real standard definition. We need greater standardization in terms of what do we call things that are green.
Jim, how much time do you spend thinking about Brexit? I know we talk about clearinghouses. There's been a change of government a couple of times in the last 4 months, actually, here in the UK. We heard today about the Big Bang and what they're trying to do with, for example, ring fencing. Do you see more innovation or more changes in the UK?
I think so, yes. I think ring fencing doesn't work. It makes a more brittle system. It precludes institutions' capacity to move capital around to their best uses. I think we will see greater transformation. I think the political situation here is stabilized. You've got great leadership, and I have confidence in them.
So how do you see the City of London actually doing in the next 2 to 3 years? We talk about APOs, about the fact that I think Goldman is also sending some traders to Milan. Yeah. JP Morgan has chosen Paris. Are you going around Europe and seeing more of a buzz than there was here in London?
Well, obviously, it's not what it used to be, but there's still a lot of buzz. I'm here. It's the place to be. It's still an important financial center, maybe one of the most important in the world, and that's not going away.